Hello there, Eagles fans, and welcome back to our Eagles Therapy Podcast. My name is Basil.
And I'm Baz.
And we are recording Sunday, August 11th, 2024, 2 days removed from the Eagles' victory over the Baltimore Ravens in the first preseason game of the Eagles preseason. Pretty good game, Dad.
It was. It's funny. Some of the comments I'd seen, when you look at the YouTube videos and stuff like that, it was the best preseason game I've seen in a long time, and it was exciting, if nothing else.
There was times where it was definitely fun, and I had to watch it on my iPad, unfortunately, illegally, because it wasn't on TV out here. It wasn't on NFL Network, and we don't pay for the NFL Plus thing. Right. And then I know you watched it later in the
tape delay,
tape delay. So we knew what had happened, but we still got to watch everything, just not completely live and not in the best quality and everything. But still, we got to see it all. It was cool to see. Good to have football back, even if it's diet football, I like to say.
Yeah, that's cool.
But it's still nice to have back. And we're going to go into that game, talk about some players, talk about some of the outcomes of the games, everything like that. But we want to go ahead and just give a plug to our Philadelphia Eagles fan club at Colorado Springs that we are a part of, as always. We do want to give an update on the bar situation. So we had spoke about going to Colorado Sports Fanatic. We don't have to remember the name anymore because we keep forgetting it. Yes. We don't have to remember it anymore because they didn't get the Sunday ticket this year. As a bar, I don't know what you're doing, but yeah, that's fine. They probably just want to be a Broncos bar and play the local games. But
right, what's on you?
Everyone's gonna have a Broncos bar. What makes you special? I don't know. So they're not going to have the ticket for us. So Ben's going to keep on looking for another bar. Update on Frankie's things. They're up and they're not back yet, but the roof's been done, of course, like we talked about. They're getting the inside done. We don't know how long it's going to be, but as they're making this, very clear, we're looking for a temporary bar. This is not a full replacement. We're really hoping to get back to Frankie's as soon as possible, though, because we love it. We miss it. We miss Jamie. We miss the staff. We miss all you guys, and we're hoping things keep on going well, and hopefully we get back open soon for the season and everything. But we'll keep you updated on the bar situation as far as temporary throughout time as we get there. But before we jump into the game, last thing we want to do is talk about Nick Foles. We did try to record the other day. We had some technical issues. I was tired. He was tired. It just didn't. We were just kind of like, okay. So we know we're a little bit late on this, but we do want to give our thanks to Nick Foles and talk about him for a little bit. So I'll pass that over to you, Dad. All right, and touch on his career a little bit.
Well, he was drafted in 2012, third-round pick by the Eagles, played for Arizona Wildcats, which I lived in Arizona at the time, but I didn't really pay attention. But
no, not at all.
More of an ASU guy.
Yeah.
He retired after 11 years in the NFL. He played for 7 different teams. I got some stats here as far as 71 games he played, 2,087 attempts, 1,302 completions for a 62.4 completion percentage, 14,227 yards. I don't really get too much into their stats, but I did look up. He has is the holder of 3 NFL records presently. He had 7 touchdown passes in one game. He had 25 consecutive completions in one game, and it's
how many?
25.
Yeah, that's right.
I remember watching that game.
I remember that game, and they
just throw one out, and just throw up.
They shouldn't even. So what they did was Aguilar ran across and ran to the end zone, and Aguilar was in an awkward position. He dropped the ball and everything.
Right.
But they ran. It's funny because they ran the same play the next play, and he caught a touchdown.
It should have just been a screen.
Well, they should have just gone hike and then just gone like this to a guy, just to break the record. You know what I mean? And it's tied. It's tied with Philip Rivers and Tannehill.
But it's funny because that's kind of like Nick Foles he doesn't want the cheap record. He's not going to pull that. He wanted the legit record. But yeah, it was funny watching that. I remember watching that game, and they finally came in and said, "Oh, he's got 21 in a row or something." You're like, man, he seemed like he was doing really good.
Yeah, definitely.
And the third record he has is playoff career completion percentage at 61.1%. So
68.1.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it.
Yeah, okay.
68.1% completion record in the career in the playoffs. So that's pretty amazing. We're going to see him go. It's a shame. He had one dynamite year in 2013 to 27 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, which has since been broken. But we're going to miss him. It was great. It's amazing what he's done, what he did that one season. So thanks, Nick.
I know we're pretty clear on not being big fans of passer rating and like stuff like that, but highest career passer rating in Eagles franchise history as well. Not an NFL record, so I know you didn't mention that.
But still,
that's all-time Eagles franchise history. He's got the highest. And obviously, being a Pro Bowl selection for us in 2013, a Pro Bowl MVP, which is cool. It's not a big thing.
Right.
Passer rating leader in 2013, that same season. And then, needless to say, Super Bowl champion of the most
Super Bowl MVP.
Super Bowl champion, Super Bowl MVP. and the holder of the most important play in Eagles history of the Philly special. We don't want to get too emotional here, but thank you, Nick. Thank you for all you did.
It's a shame. It's a shame he had to go. But, after he left us, he went to Jacksonville, and, of course, we were all cheering for him, and he got hurt in the first game. And then he missed 9 games or something. But it's just –
It just ended after that.
I should have just signed him and kept him on the bench.
I know.
I mean, because we've been through so many backup quarterbacks through the years, and it's like we should have just kept him on the roster.
Yeah.
But
it's just impossible, though, because he doesn't –
I mean, he wanted to start.
To go somewhere else. I get it.
Of course.
Let's get off that. We'll talk now about the game. So Eagles and Ravens, they win. Eagles win over the Ravens 16-13. Nice little game to watch. Fun to have back again.
Kind of a quirky way to win, right?
Yeah, it's kind of funny, right? Yeah, we'll definitely touch on that. But let's go into – we're going to do some stock up and some stock down on players. We don't usually do that. We usually choose MVPs and stuff. But I'm going to go stock up, stock down since it's the preseason and we don't – we're not going to choose MVPs of preseason games because
it's a preseason game.
So stock up players. My first one's going to be Britton Covey. I'm going to get made fun of for this one because, as I've said on this podcast before, some of the people at the club, Steve, and they say that Covey's my boyfriend because I love Britton Covey and I've been a supporter since the beginning of it all and I feel as though
before he was the 2023 NFL punt return leader. So yes, you hung with him. Yes,
that's right. He had 4 catches for 25 yards, 2 punt returns. One punt return for 26 yards. Yeah. The dude looked great. It's just nice to know that we have a guy who's got that punt return position down. He's a tough dude. He broke 4 tackles on that.
Yes.
He got hit 6 times. You know what I mean? Like, it was great to see him.
And his balance, he's bouncing on the ground. Yeah,
and it's cool to see him have a chance in the receiving game as well. And I know going forward, we don't know who our third receiver is. We don't know if we're going to trade for somebody or stay with what we have. And that might be Britton Covey because they seem to like him on the offense right now. And
why not?
Why not?
I mean, he's shown what he can do. He's got great hands. Every time you hear like another show or something, somebody talking about it, they mention his great hands. So why not?
4 targets, 4 catches, didn't drop one, didn't miss one. So I don't.
And they weren't just little screeners either. They were passes.
There were some pretty good ones.
So it's neat to see him. Hopefully, Kellen Moore buys into it and says, "Okay, this is our 3rd or 4th guy. Bring him in at times."
I'm not saying he needs to be the 3rd guy, and I know that they've talked about they like having a group of people be the 3rd guy, which last year that didn't work so well with the Quez and the Zacchaeus and the Julio.
Yeah,
it didn't seem like it worked really well. I think maybe having a guy consistently there is better, but I'm not a coach in the NFL, so we'll see what goes forward in that in that spot. But you have a guy as a stock up, correct?
Yes. My running back was it's funny because we talked about the pod we shot a few days earlier, and he was one of the guys I was talking about who I'm watching. I'm going to be keeping my eye on him, and he did not disappoint. I mean, he got in and got out. He had 7 carries for 23 yards.
What's the name?
Will Shipley.
Thank you.
So he's our rookie draft.
Yes.
And I mean, he looked good. Of course, he only had 3.3 yards of carry and all, but that didn't really matter.
Well, that's just when you only carry the ball 7 times behind a backup offensive line.
Exactly.
You don't expect, he's got 9 yards of carry. No, but if you see,
but he showed explosiveness. He showed ability to find the hole, and that's what we're looking for. And then he also had 1 catch for 7 yards and a touchdown. And you could just see the way they set it up the whole way on that drive. It was just perfect. So he looked really good. I'm glad to see it. That I've been hearing good things about him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Through the preseason and all the training camp. So that's a good thing. We obviously have our starter already locked up, but it's good to have Kenny Gainwell in there, who also played well.
Yeah, I agree.
He came in for about 4 carries, I think.
Yeah, 4 carries, 23 yards. That's a great average, actually.
I'm sure he looked good too. Just the way it looked like they were going to stick with the run in the game early.
Definitely.
And they were, at one point they were running for 150 yards or something like that for the whole game. But anyway, so it was nice to see the rookie. You want him out there. You want him playing. Obviously, you'd like to see him get more carries as the preseason goes on. But, it was a good thing.
Altogether as a running back group, before I go back to the next guy, altogether as a running back group, 39 yards for Milton, 5.7 for Davis Price. 34 for Davis Price, 23 for Shipley, 23 for Gainwell, and 21 for Nichols. So pretty good day for the running backs, I would say. Averages might not make up to be, but we had a 4.3, a 5.7, a 3.3, and a 5.8, and a 3. So, average is probably still up around 4, a little bit over 4. So it was a good day for the running backs altogether. But, I agree with you. Shipley looked good coming out of the backfield as a receiver, too.
So, stock up.
Good. My next stock up is going to be Nolan Smith, defensive end. or outside linebacker, edge, whatever you want to call these guys nowadays. He had a great sack. He plays violent. You know, when he run, well, first of all, he's fast.
Right.
So when he's going at the quarterback, like full speed, it's like, man, like there's no way to go, let me shake. No, right. He's fast. He's coming at you. Got a sack, had 4 tackles aside from that. So a pretty good day for him to finally showcase some stuff. I know last year he only on the season with 1 sack, right? And then 1 in the postseason. So not much.
Man, I tell you, remember last year, I so many times he was my player of the game. Like, let's go. Yeah. He's the guy I'm watching this week. You know, it's going to be his week, and it just
12 snaps.
It just didn't happen. Yeah. So,
but I thought he had a pretty good game.
I know he played a lot too.
Yeah,
and he was at the end there. He was even there.
Yeah. Next guy, you have a stock up for last guy.
Yes, well, that would be our linebacker, Trotter Jr. Looked amazing. You know, he's been getting a lot of hype because of the whole legacy thing, but he did not disappoint. If you watch, there's a few videos out there you can watch of just this isolated on him. You know, he was crashing into linemen and pushing them out of the way. He was making the right reads for some of the gap runs. They had one, I think it was like a delayed handoff, and he had shifted from way on the right side, went left, caught the guy at the 2 yards after he got through the line of scrimmage. It was a great tackle. You know, it wasn't just a little, shirt thing. He brought him down pretty hard. He ended up with 4 tackles, 1 sack, 1 quarterback hit, and he even had a special teams tackle. So, I mean, for a rookie who's kind of got a lot of skin in the game because his dad's sitting there and, everybody knows him and we want him to do well and he's from the area. It was amazing to watch him play.
Absolutely.
So we're looking forward to see what happens on Thursday night against the Pats next week and see what goes down. But hopefully he continues it, and it's a good thing. We got the other 2 linebackers that looked really well as well. So that was a good thing as well too. So it'd be good to see him get out there and possibly break the starting lineup or at least get in on third down and things like that.
So I think
move him in slow.
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if he's not a starter. I don't expect anything like that, but I wouldn't be surprised if he got some good playing time this year. I really do expect.
We need that. We need to play the young guys this year.
He reminds me of a young Jordan Hicks. If you remember when Jordan Hicks was a rookie before he unfortunately got hurt, he just made plays. He just made plays. And I'm not just talking about this game. I know it's stupid to say that after just one game. I'm talking. I watched him in college a lot. I saw the highlights of him in college. He just seems to make plays. He does it, and that's even though he might be a little undersized. It's funny how that works.
That's all you need.
Doesn't matter
if he knows how to play football and he knows where to go and how to make reads. That's the biggest thing that makes a player.
Yeah. All right, let's move into the more depressing part of the pod, the stock downs, guys that kind of disappointed, underwhelmed, didn't play as well as we expected or aren't looking too good as far as roster, which we will be talking about the roster in a little bit.
Yeah, some like you say, some make the roster,
of course,
or maybe not making the roster, but some guys that we're pretty sure are going to make the roster even.
Yeah. So, I mean, number one, the guy I thought kind of going in had a kind of locked spot in the roster because he was drafted by us, and our draft picks usually make the roster. Anaya Smith had a really bad game. He had 1 catch for 7 yards. It was his only target, so he didn't have a drop or anything like that, but he had 1 really horrible punt return, and then he had a fumble on another punt return.
Right.
And it was bad. I think he had 3 punt returns total for only 13 yards. 1 was for 6 yards, so the other 2 were for a total of 7, and he had a fumble on one of them.
Even though Covey's our punt returner, it'd be nice to have another guy.
Well, no, it is, because if Covey does have a big part in the offense,
sure, you can say, let's sit him and let's
we don't want to throw him out there. It's true.
Exactly.
So, it was a bad look for him, a little worrisome. It seems like he's kind of below Johnny Wilson on the depth chart. I don't. Obviously, we're not at the practices, so we don't.
That's
know
the 6'7" wide receiver.
Yeah.
So from one of the things I read, and again, I'm always looking for stuff. I heard he played small and he played slow.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not that's like say he works hard, but he does poor.
You talking about Johnny Wilson or Smith?
Smith.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, they said he played small and he played poor. So I mean, it was just a bad look.
It just looked bad. Who do you have as a stock down?
So the stock down I had was Alberto, tight end. It just didn't. I mean, we're pretty sure we have our 3 that we know are locked into the season. But I mean, it's the guy we picked up last year.
The day of the
hoping that he could at least do something for us, and maybe because he has had a history of catching the ball, and we kind of needed that last year because Goddard was out, and so he just didn't look good. He had one catch for 6 yards.
He had a drop.
He had a drop and no special team snaps, and that's another thing. If you can play special teams and be a third stringer or whatever, we'll take it. But if you're not going to contribute on special teams and you got nothing going, it's not a good look.
And that tight end 3 spot, which we'll talk about in a bit, is a bit concerning as far as special team guys. Calcaterra has been a bit of a special team guy in the past. Jack Stoll too on kick return and everything like that. And if our third string tight end is Albert O, who doesn't know how to play special teams, or CJ Uzomah, who's 31 years old.
Right.
You're not really setting yourself up for good special teams there. But
if Goddard goes the whole season, no injuries, we're doing fine.
Yeah.
But, his history has shown that he has been able to be a little bit injured at times. Yeah. So we need Calcaterra to step in or one of the other number 3 guy. We're not sure exactly who that's going to be yet.
My next stock down is a guy who didn't play last night, a guy who hasn't practiced yet in the preseason practices and training camp, Oren Burks. Going into training camp, it seemed like Oren Burks was, I don't want to say a lock to make roster and everything like that, but we picked him up and he had played on a pretty good team last year. He wasn't a starter, but when you're on a good team and you're a backup, you're still probably good because you're learning behind some of the best. You know what I mean? Like he was on the Niners, if you remember. Yeah.
Yes.
So Oren Burks, he hasn't practiced, and it seems like Trotter, who had a great game, pretty good game last night, and Nakobe Dean, who had a pretty good game. He wasn't all pro or anything, but he looked better. And then even Ben Van Sumeren didn't look too bad last night. He had 5 tackles. This guy's not practicing. This is not looking good for him to make.
There's only a few weeks left to practice.
What are you going to do? If he doesn't come, and it's unfortunate because we just don't know what he has because he hasn't been able to play or practice. But
wasn't he like a situational linebacker type, blitzer guy type? That's what I remember them saying. He wasn't more of a run support guy, but he was more of a. That's what they were hoping for, like a situational type, third down type blitzer guy. That's what I remember hearing about him.
Okay, I don't have any evidence for that.
Okay,
I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure.
But that's what I remember them saying about him.
For him, though.
Yes.
In the season last year, he had a sack, 46 tackles, 1 interception, and 1 pass defended. So I know he wasn't an all-pro like his guys ahead of him, Fred Warner and Greenlaw, but you want to see some of that, but we just haven't been able to. Last stock down for you. You got one?
Well, I've got 2 actually, but the one I don't want to really make a big deal about, but Elliott with the missed extra point and the missed field goal, it just kind of not really concerning. I know it's the first week, and there was weather on the field, it was wet and things like that. But the game-winning field goal that he made was cool. You couldn't go any closer to being perfect in the middle. So it's just something to look out for. But my other guy was Hennessy, the lineman. I know you're kind of. You feel a little differently about I do, but I just seen that he had a holding call and he just kind of was getting overpowered. But he's still fairly young. He's not an old guy, so we're hoping that he can button it up. And again, it's still early. We'll see what happens next week. But he was a player we were kind of using and looking forward to as just kind of a fill-in gap type offensive lineman.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, the Elliott thing. It's just the 50-yard field goal doesn't. What you talk about, it's the first preseason game, wet conditions, I guess, but you can't miss extra points. It's just that's not allowed. You can't do that. I know it's bad. I know I might be picking nits. I might be nitpicking here.
Yes,
People might be, hey, what? Come on, But I get it. It's great. He's great, but that's not. Just can't happen. You can't be missing extra points. You just can't.
I agree.
Not happen. Let's go into some roster predictions. So we're going to go back and forth. Starting with quarterback, of course, we're going to have a lot that are similar. But we're going to be going back and forth talking about guys we think that are making the roster and everything like that. We'll see if we agree, what we don't agree on, all that sort of stuff. So I'll go ahead and start us off with quarterback. This one's probably going to be the easiest one all day. Got Hurts, Kenny Pickett, Tanner McKee.
Yeah.
Keep it 3.
Pickett for sure. We did what we did in the offseason. I'm still kind of high on Tanner McKee, although he wasn't phenomenal.
Didn't play too well.
But it's, again, preseason game. But I got the same 3 quarterbacks.
Okay. Go ahead and take me to running back.
So running back, I got Barkley, Gainwell, and Shipley. I don't believe we're going to carry a 4th running back. We'll probably stash one on the practice squad.
Yeah.
But I just see us carrying 3.
I agree with you there. I have the same exact 3: Barkley, Gainwell, and Shipley. I'm going to go tight end next, so I got keeping 3. I got Goddard, Calcaterra, and CJ Uzomah. Now, when we recorded the other day, we didn't release the episode and everything. I did this, and I had Albert O at that point, and I changed my mind. And it's a bummer because, like we talked about, that third tight end spot kind of needs to be a practice squad contributor. And if we have Albert O, who doesn't know how to play, special teams contributor.
Yes.
And if he doesn't know how to play special teams and we got a 31-year-old, he's a little worrisome. So,
so we're going to have to keep another guy to be a special
definitely
teamer.
on the practice squad, but he can't be on the game every week. It just doesn't work.
Right.
So that's my 3. What do you have?
I have the same 3. Now, again, we looked at it earlier, and Albert O. I've always, even last year, like, when's he going to throw? When are they going to throw it to him? When are they going to put him out there? They didn't. That just kind of shows me all I need to know. If he was going to be the guy, Kellen Moore would have been using him in the training camp, and he hasn't been. So Calcaterra seems to be number 2 solid, so we're good there.
Go ahead and take us to wide receiver.
Wide receiver, I've got 5. I've got Brown, Smith, Wilson, Covey, and what's his name?
Campbell.
Campbell. But I also have I got a little line drawn to Ross because Ross seemed like he got a lot of playing time last night.
He actually did.
4 catches. It just looked like they really want him to be the guy. And sometimes if you got that going on, and Campbell was just an off-season pickup, and Ross, I don't know. I think they might be going with him. Depends what happens. Stay aligned because you never know next week and the week after if he continues to get these throws. That might just show you that he's going to be maybe their number 3.
Yeah, 3 catches, 28 yards, long of 10. So not a terrible lineup right there. But I'm going to agree with you on most of it. I have 6. So obviously the easy ones are A.J. Brown, Vontae Smith, Britton Covey, Johnny Wilson.
Right.
I do have Anais Smith. I know we talked about stock down. I still do think he will be on the roster because of his speed and versatility and his draft status, of course. But I think he does give you versatility. I think he can act as a little bit of a – I'm not going to say they're going to run him at running back, but if you needed another one, he can kind of be that fourth. He could be that 4th running back maybe. I'm not saying that would ever happen, but that's an option for you. And then I, too, have Paris Campbell. However, I do agree with you. It's him or Ross, and the problem for Campbell, I should say, Ross is playing. Ross is practicing. Campbell's been hurt. Campbell has not been practicing. He did not play the other day. And it's just a big deal. When you have a guy who's been playing and practicing, he's going to take that edge over the other guy because he's getting the chances. He's getting the reps.
Yeah. It kind of shows you if you're not out there, even if, I don't know if he's injured, but if you're not out there and you're healthy, late in an early preseason game, they should be at least trying to see what you've got. So if you're not getting that opportunity, it's just showing – they already showed their cards and like, hey, he's not the guy.
Yeah. All right, I'll take us to the offensive line. So we've got the tough one. I would say we've got the easy 5 or 6 to start. You got Mailata, Dickerson, Juergens, Lane, and then for that right guard spot, we know Steen and Becton are the 2 competing. It's one of those 2 starting
it out. Yeah.
So you have Steen and Becton. So you got Mailata, Dickerson, Juergens, Steen, Lane, Becton, and then I've got Matt Hennessy, Fred Johnson, Trevor Keegan, and Dylan McMahon.
So the only different one I had there was I have Toth instead of what's his name? You got McMahon and Hennessy. I don't have either of them.
So how many number?
I have 9.
You have 9. Okay,
I have 9. And that's subject to change depending on what happens in the next few weeks. But
so you don't have Hennessy on.
I don't have Hennessy on.
I'm going to explain my Hennessy thing.
That's fine.
You had to stock down on him.
Yeah.
I know he had a rough game the other day. We talked about that. He stocked down, but I just think he's not a lock. I don't like to say the word lock because everything can change, but I think he has a better chance of making the roster than a lot of guys because of he played center, first he played guard. We need guys that do both, yada, 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 all that fun stuff. Because Becton, he can play tackle or guard. I don't know if they want him focusing on guard. Steen, he played tackle in college. We want him to be a guard.
Yes.
Fred Johnson's the left tackle backup. That's kind of the most he gives you.
Right.
He could do both sides, but he's mostly the left tackle. Keegan's a guard on either side, and then I have Dylan McMahon as a center backup, but Hennessy is kind of the backup for the center and guard. It all depends, but it all depends on what side they want guys on. You know what I mean?
Right.
We don't know what Stout's mind is.
I know that the Steen and the what's his name, Becton, they've been going at it, but Steen missed a few weeks practice, 10 practices.
Yeah.
So, but he did play yesterday, and I did watch Becton too. So it's kind of interesting to watch because you can't really sit either guy. We got to see what they can do. We can stop.
Yeah.
We can sit Mailata and Johnson, but the rest of the line we got to keep together and see. But it's funny. I'm watching the game, and it's just so hard to see who's out there because it's quick play, and then and I'm going, what number, this guy, that guy. So it was kind of hard to keep track, and it was, okay, good block over there.
That's why I was thankful I watched from the beginning, because I even right away was like, okay, who's on the offensive line?
Right.
And then they showed a graphic that showed him. I was like, oh, good, okay. Good. Keegan Toth, okay, good. Because it's funny, originally when I did this last time, I had Brett Toth, I don't know. And I forgot Keegan. I had Toth on here, and I forgot Keegan, and I was like, well, I think Keegan edges him out.
Right.
Keegan's a draft pick, played at Michigan.
Yes. Toth, and he's younger, and he's,
Now, Toth, they've been trying to make a center for a while. They made him snap the other night, and he played, snapped pretty well.
Right.
But they've been trying to make him a center, and he's been on the team for like 5 years now.
Yes, well, I was going to say he's also been around for a long time, and it's never really broken.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're still fighting every year to just get on the team, it's kind of showing you something,
Yeah. Take us into defensive tackles.
Interior defensive line. I've got Carter, Davis, Milton Williams, Tui Pelotu, and Ojomo.
Okay, yeah, so 5.
That's my 5.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's going to change. I don't think there's anybody really making a push there. So
I've got the same 5. I would agree. I don't know if there's anyone pushing on the outside to come in. PJ Mustafa is a name,
right?
But
and he made a play. He made a tackle in the game, I think.
Yeah, but I don't think. I think 5 is the. I don't have his name here. Sometimes they don't feel. There's so many players that play that doesn't make all the stats and everything on this one. But yeah, I think that 5 is just solidified. I don't see anybody else breaking through.
And I think we have a couple players there that are going to make a breakthrough. I think Milton Williams, who last year showed a lot, man, he really played well. And then Tui Pelotu is another player who. You'll see that one play and you're like, oh man, if you could do that 2 or 3 times a game, like he'll bust through and so hopefully he gets there as well this year.
Yeah. Defensive end, I'll take us in there. So the obvious Brandon Graham, Bryce Huff, Josh Sweat, and then I have Nolan Smith and I have Jalix Hunt. I only have the 5. I think you have something different.
I do. I also have Patrick Johnson, who made a sack last night and won the game. So and I remember he did some last year too. So I mean, he's played. So it's very possible that they might see something we don't. Hopefully, he continues it up and gets another sack next week. And I mean, the sack we were talking about earlier, was the last play of the game, but. It was the last play of the game, and he made the play, and he recovered the fumble. So it's not like he was a gimme sack. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he's like my 54th. Obviously the 53-man roster. He's like my 54th or 55th guy. I want him on the team, but I don't know who do we take off. Right. We take off an offensive lineman, only bring 9. They usually do bring 10. I think last year I have it here. We only brought 9 offensive linemen last year, so maybe that's the next step because you do get to bring up one from the practice squad.
Exactly.
So maybe they keep Dylan McMahon down or something. But I want Johnson. I just don't know. I just don't know about it.
So no, Dylan McMahon was he a draft pick?
Yeah, 7th round.
11. I was going to say late pick. So I mean, if they keep him on the roster, that's fine with me too because that means he's got something.
But more likely than not, I think he is a practice squad guy. Patrick Johnson's on the team. Especially after that sack. And he's a big special teams contributor.
I was just going to say, he's played special teams, and he did have the sack. So, I mean, that gives you something.
Let's go to linebacker. So, you go ahead and start us here.
Okay. I've got White, Bond, Trotter, Dean, and Ben Van Sumeren. We're high on him.
Yeah. I've got the same exact 5. Last year, we only brought 4 linebackers, or 4 middle linebackers, as you want to call it.
Kept bringing guys in.
And then that's the problem, is you keep on bringing terrible guys in. So, I don't know, but I have the same Devin White, Zach Bonacoby, Trotter, and Sumeren.
Apparently White's really playing well, too.
They say in practices they've been doing well. The starters have been White and Bond. I heard there's reports that today in practice, Nakobe was getting a lot of reps in the first team, which is good to see. He didn't start the day out. It was still White and Bond, but he got a lot of first team reps. And we got to see a lot of different variations with Trotter and Devin White, Zach Bond, Nakobe, all that sort of stuff.
I think we learned something last year, though. We learned that you got to have some linebackers because we kept playing Russian roulette with the linebackers, and it just didn't happen.
It's horrible.
And it's funny because we were talking earlier as well, where last year we went into the season with this. Cornerbacks, we thought, we're locked. And within a few weeks, we had some injuries and we were down and suddenly we didn't have what we needed. So hopefully they learned the lesson last year and continue to just keep beefing it up.
Yeah. And I have Van Sumeren, same as you for that. He's a special teams guy and he's really good on special teams. And he gives you something as a linebacker. He really does. I mean, he played a lot last year when needed. And it wasn't like he played, again, all-star level or anything. But I would rather have him than Shaq Leonard or
Definitely.
Or Zach Cunningham at one point during that season. So let's go ahead and talk about cornerbacks. I'll bring us into this one. We got Slay, Rogers, Ringo, and then the rookies, Mitchell, DeJean. Right. And I have Eli Ricks. And this is the one that's kind of weird. I got Zach McPherson over Josh Jobe.
Right.
This is a struggle one as well. And I think I might change my mind right here. I think I'm going to take Josh Jobe.
Because of his special teams.
Yes, because Jobe is a better special teamer. McPherson's a good one too, but I think it's is it more likely McPherson can be on the practice? I don't know.
Well, who's got more upside? I think Eli Ricks has more upside on that piece too.
Well, he's on for me no matter what.
So I think he's got more upside. I think so that's where we differ. I don't have him, but I have him sitting on the side. So I've got Ricks, very possible. I had Ricks and Jobe not on the team, but as possibles depending on what happens. So my corners were Slay, Rogers, Mitchell, Ringo, Cooper, and Maddox. So again, he's a safety kind of tweener, right? So we're not sure where he's going to be yet.
You only have 6?
I only have 6, yes.
So that's where it's the struggle. Because to me, where we differ, I have Ricks. I think he's a lock to make the team.
Right.
I think the first 6 are a complete lock. Slay, Rogers, Ringo, Mitchell, DeJean, Ricks. I don't think there's anything less. I don't think any way none of them make that team. The hard part is McPherson or Jobe. Right. For me, who is more likely that we can get on the practice squad? Because if we release, one of them.
Well, if they have experience, you can't keep them.
Jobe. Well, actually, no, that changed. The rules changed. You can have whoever you want on the practice squad now,
but only for so many weeks, I guess. Or bring-ups, whatever you call it.
Well, yeah, you can only bring him.
Like a Maddox, you could put him on this practice squad? And he can't automatically be taken by somebody else, because that's where
he can. Yeah. On the practice squad, anybody can be signed by any team at any time, at any moment.
So I guess I'm showing my cards. I'm a big Max guy, even though he got injured last year. I still think he's got stuff left. So
let's go into the safety spot, because that's where I have Maddox. I have Reed Blankenship, C.J. Gardner-Johnson. I have Maddox as a safety. Now, remember, we originally drafted Maddox as a safety back in 2018. He played safety his rookie year. We moved him to nickel when we had to because everyone was 2018, if you remember, we lost 17 cornerbacks that year. So Maddox had to be there. Yeah. I like Maddox, too. I know you do as well. It's just hard because he's injured often, but I like hhim, too. I have to have him on the team, and I would have him over –
it's just that, he gets injured, but he also fights to get back. Like, this guy's a fighter, man. I just remember some of the great plays he's made, some of the great come-up hits.
Oh, yeah.
I just like those kind of players. He reminds me of a Waters and some of the other great safeties we had in the old days. And,
Go with your safeties.
Okay, so I got CJ, Blankenship, Sidney, and Bradbury. I know you kind of looked at that and said no way. So I don't know. Again, that was just a name. I heard he played yesterday.
He did play yesterday. He started safety.
He was a Pro Bowler just 2 years ago, so I just kind of, I don't know. And I also have the new guy that we picked up, Caden Stearns. So I know our numbers are a little bit different. I had 9 offensive line. You had 10, so you had an extra guy to play with there.
Yeah, definitely.
And then, of course, we've kind of taken a few guys off. That's what I have. But, of course, you were just telling me that Stearns, who we just picked up today.
I think today or yesterday.
Can't play for 2 weeks. And the only thing I had was that he was young and he played under Fangio before. That's why I had him on the team.
He's not able to play he's not able to practice for another week, I think.
So, that probably automatically discontinues him or kicks him off.
But if you go out and get a guy, that means you like him. If you go out and get a guy right now, and that means you like him. That means they definitely like him because
you might be playing with house money going, we know what we've got, but this guy's also got some potential. So let's give it a shot. Let's, he's on the bench or whatever. I don't know how they got him. Was it a trade or
sign him? Yeah.
Yeah. So he's just off the bench. So
I will say
cost us anything.
I will say this. I know I left Sidney Brown off there. I know I want to make note of that. I think it's because he's going to start the season on the PUP list. Yeah. I obviously think he's going to make the team. And, during the season, you can't predict what's going to happen. Right. 12 of these guys won't be on the team.
Right.
You know what I mean? It just happens every year. If you look at the initial roster from last year, we had Christian Ellis as a linebacker to start the season.
Right.
N'Kobe Dean was one of our, we had 3 linebackers.
Yeah.
N'Kobe Dean and Christian Ellis by the end of the season.
They weren't even.
He was the backup and Ellis was on another team.
Yes.
So you never know. Last year, Mario Goodrich was on our starting roster. Right. You just never know. Contavious Street, we traded him. There's just so much stuff that can happen. We have no idea what's going on. So I think in that timeline, that's where Sidney Brown will come.
And we have 2 more preseason games to watch and then another week off. So, you got 3 or 4 weeks before it really starts. So
we have 3 more players. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Jake Elliott.
That's easy.
I had Braden Mann and Lovato. I know you thought Braden Mann's gone. I'm just kidding.
No, Braden Mann's great. But it's funny, we talked about the kick last night. And I said, well, hey, maybe there was a different holder.
No.
I wasn't looking to see who the holder was at that point of the game. But also, yeah, you were like, no, he's not. Yeah. Because, sometimes you bring in two punters. You bring in, you got.
It's true.
You got guys.
I think it depends on the situation. Last year we had to because of the Sipos thing and everything.
But
he's had such a good season last year.
I praised him many times on the show, and I think he's a great player.
Once we extended him, it was like, there's not going to be any more. Yeah. Okay, let's jump over to our Eagles Top 100. We have 5 guys on the Eagles Top 100 list. Number 1, Devontae Smith. He was not number 1, sorry. Devontae Smith was number 90. You agree or disagree? Should he be higher, lower, so whatever you want?
I mean, if he could be a little bit lower, being maybe in the 70s, okay. Yeah. But, I mean, for what he is, for what we've got out there, for how many players make it, I'm just glad he's in the top 100 because I think he deserves to be.
Yeah, it's hard to talk about that one because being a number 90, just being on the list for Devontae is awesome, and it's great to have. You'd like to see him a little bit higher, lower, whatever you want to say. But
there's 32 teams with 64 wide receivers, so
I'm just happy the fact that he's on the list because he's great.
It's a respect thing, I think. So
next one, Saquon Barkley was number 86. This one, I think we agree we don't have much feeling on because he wasn't an Eagle.
Right.
I know these top 100 lists are weird because it's the top 100 players of 2024, so it's a prediction, it's a projection.
Where do you think he's going to end up at the end of this year?
It's not always based off of last year.
Now, if that's the case, I think Smith will be lower on the list.
Yeah, lower, higher.
I know. I think he will be lower because he's going to have a bigger season this year. I think so too. That's just me.
Next was Lane Johnson at number 41. Also, I think that's a good spot.
Yeah.
As long as he's rated as the 3rd or 4th best tackle, I'm good with that. You know what I mean? You'd love to see him at number 1, but he's not. He's top 5.
Plus, last year, I would say the second half of the season, he had. Prior to that, he was amazing.
Injury.
He hadn't given up a sack since like 2000, something like that. So, I mean, you know what I mean. But last year he did get beat. He did have some problems there, and he was injured a little bit. And
he missed the Buffalo game.
Yeah,
things like that. It was a bummer.
But so I think if he being number 41 with so many players,
being in the top 50 is great. Yeah. I mean, that's awesome. 21, AJ Brown. Kind of a surprise. Not really. Shouldn't be a surprise because he had that great stretch. But
yes, he did.
Just incredible. Great to see him at 21. As long as he's in the top 5, top 6 wide receivers, I'm happy with that rating too. He was. I think above him was Tyreek, of course. CD,
Justin
Jefferson. I think that's I think he was the 4th.
Yeah.
I think like 2 spots below him was Amon-Ra, St. Brown.
Yes, he was 25, I think.
Yeah, so somewhere around there.
And he deserved it. He's a great player.
Yeah,
a big fan of his.
Definitely. And then our last guy on the list, Jalen Hurts, number 15.
I hope they're right. I hope they're saying he's going to be the guy this year.
Felt a little high. I was surprised. It was great to see him above Dak because he should be. Yeah. But interesting. I was kind of surprised by it.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think of there?
I was surprised he was that high because it is a projection for this year. So hopefully it's telling us as fans that he learned a little bit last year.
Yeah.
Don't pressure so much. Take what they give you. Don't force it, man. We got the team that can do what needs to be done. Play it safe if you have to play it safe, especially in the regular season. Don't be taking gambles with some of them darts you through it. So hopefully 15, hopefully that's where he ends up.
It's really hard to understand the voting process.
Yes,
I know we talked about it, and Acho talked about it on Speak, in which they vote between November and January.
Yes.
And, I mean, it makes sense why he's 15 because a lot of people were probably voting for him when he was 10-1, 9-1, 8-1,
and playing great.
And when he was an MVP frontrunner. I mean, because that was a lot in November and everything, and then December was the fall off. But so I don't know. It's funny how the voting works because you're like, Tyreek Hill was number 1.
Right.
Why is Mahomes not number 1? Because at some point during the season, Tyreek Hill was looking like he was going to break the record for most.
And Mahomes struggled a little bit mid-season. I mean, not struggled.
True, that's the thing.
They weren't the barn burner that they had been in the past, and I think that's the problem. If you set it up to make yourself look like the greatest, and all of a sudden you have a little blip. I mean, look how fast Hurts kind of dropped in that MVP.
Oh yeah,
he was number 1 hands down for pretty much a good chunk of the
This is
season.
like 3 weeks in a row.
He had one bad game and he dropped to 5.
Oh, yeah.
And you're like, okay, that's kind
Then
of.
he had 6 bad games, and it was understandable.
Yeah, no, it didn't surprise us. But I mean, early on, it was just one bad chip shot, and you're out, in the water, and you're done. So, but yeah, hopefully he finishes 15 this year, because that would mean we are going to go in the playoffs and go deep. So,
why was Jake Elliott not on the top 100?
Yeah, it's funny. I don't know. Do they have kickers?
I mean, they definitely vote on something. Justin Tucker might have been on the list. I don't know.
I don't know.
I feel like Jake Elliott. I mean, it's hard. Why would a kicker make the team? They're not going to vote for kickers.
For a kicker to make, you'd have to probably score 140 points and not miss anything ever.
You'd have to be
like a few 66-yarders or something. I don't know, but because if someone would be, it would be Justin Tucker, because he's
of course,
hands down unbelievable. But Elliott's right there, buddy.
Oh yeah. Let's talk about some other sports. As far as 76ers news, they be getting some guys, everything like that. Big news, Embiid got a gold medal at the Olympics.
Right.
Didn't do too much in the gold medal game, but the game before he
pulled it out. He pulled it out of the dirt there late in the fourth quarter. He didn't.
Yeah,
it
was low. He wasn't doing much. It's hard to judge a guy's performance when they're on the greatest team ever made. Like LeBron and Durant and Curry are on this team. Like how can you?
I mean, Curry pretty much won that game before the game, but Embiid did what he needed to do right before he shined. So
it's true.
He made some clutch shots. He was pretty awesome.
Phillies, they were in a major slump for a bit there. Kind of still are. The game should have just started, actually.
Yeah, it was 4 o'clock start, I think.
4 o'clock start for us. But they got swept by the Yankees. They had a really big slump. They bounced back. They had a win over the Dodgers, but they're getting annihilated by the Diamondbacks right now, 12-5. And I don't know. It's the game. Game's over. We already missed it. I'm sorry.
Wow.
Yeah, 12-5. They lost yesterday, 11-1. They won the first game like 3-2 or something like that. No, they lost 3-2. They won the first game 6-4.
Yeah.
Been a bad look for a while.
They got 2 out of 3 from the Dodgers, and then they got 1 out of 3 from 4. Oh wow,
yeah, it's bad, really bad. The Union, bad.
Yeah, they've sunk a little bit.
They are on the fringe to make the playoffs. I don't know exactly how the play-in thing works here.
Yeah,
right at the bottom portion of being in playoff territory.
Yeah,
but I don't know.
They got to win a few. They need some points.
They do. Nothing on the Flyers. I don't know anything. I don't know.
Well, season's over. So.
Let's say our goodbyes. You can follow us on Facebook. If you like our Eagles Therapy podcast, do us a favor. Rate and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. Please comment down below anything you agree with or disagree with. We love talking to people and getting along with them. We also like arguing with everybody. So
that's right.
It's fun for us no matter what. So if you can email us.
We like to argue. We're from Philly.
Yeah. You can email us any of your questions at oureaglestherapy@gmail.com. But other than that, from all of us here at Our Eagles Therapy Podcast, I'm Basil.
And I'm Baz.
Go Birds.
And thank you, Nick Foles. Fly, Eagles, fly.